Let's finally talk about the move to Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/Marie Shadows. What up, everybody? It is your host, Marie Shadows, and this is Discord Notes Volume 7. We made it to 7 episodes in, and sometimes I need to remind myself why I created Discord Notes in the first place. Discord Notes were just born out of wanting to talk about different things, wanting to talk about frustrations, wanting to talk about the things that I've seen on Twitter when I was there. It's been since July that I have yet to log back on, and maybe the Twitter community is happy about that, maybe not, I don't know. What I do know is that sometimes when you log off of a social media platform, no one seems to care or remember or even think about it because they're so enthralled into their little bubbles of arguing this, arguing that. And the only way that I could keep up with some of the stuff on Twitter is through the people that I watch on YouTube that covers the wrestling space, or even some people in my community that will message me to be like, hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see that? Hey, you might want to check this out. And the latest argument is over Gail Kim and her opinion on Riho, and the amount of fans that would go and defend Riho and say that Gail Kim is bullying because she's using words and words affect us and we have to be a shield for Riho because Riho had to deactivate her Twitter account. And then also Gail Kim also caught some strays by saying that she doesn't like deathmatch wrestling. Well, guess what? I don't like deathmatch wrestling either. I don't like GCW, and I just don't really like Brett Lauderdale. Deathmatch wrestling isn't for me, and people should be allowed to say these things. People should be able to speak their mind and have their opinion as to why they don't like something. That is why it is a opinion, and it's different from a fact. A fact is saying that the sky is blue, that an apple has many different colors. Those are facts. For an opinion, you could definitely say that you like the green apples over the red apples, and that is your opinion. The same way when we talk about wrestling, the same way when we talk about culture, the same way when we talk about anything else. It seems lately that people don't want to have conversations and people just want to have yelling matches and arguments, and nothing gets done in this cycle of repeating the same things and talking about the same things and not trying to find a common ground, so to speak. Everyone wants to at least make sure that you are on board with them 100% of the time and not think about like, hey, we may not agree on everything, but I agree on maybe like 2 points. And that right there is a win and a victory to probably have that person change their mind on their own for the future and for the betterment of whatever it is. And the only reason why I bring this up is because I honestly did not know how to start off Discord Notes Volume 7. And I didn't want to just get into the Patreon stuff. I do have some other topics that I want to talk about. Patreon will be the big part of this, maybe like a little part of it, because Patreon is basically a relaunch. I've had Patreon for years. I just don't know how to use any of this stuff as a content creator, and that's me being completely honest with you guys. I am learning as I'm going, and I'm bringing you along for the journey, and if you don't think that is confident enough for you to follow me, that's okay. I've lost pretty much close to 30 followers, give or take, over the past month due to me speaking up more, speaking about Charlie Kirk, speaking about the fundamental that we should all agree that we should all have freedom of speech, and it should be exactly the way that the Constitution has it, where you can say what you want and not have people go to the extreme if they don't agree with you, because every time that we speak, we're not saying, hey, agree with me 100%. There are some people that take it to the extreme and they want you to agree with them 100% of the time, and that is on both sides of the aisle and like everything else. But for the most part, when people want to have conversation and engage in conversation and really have questions that make you think about your community, that make you think about what you've been doing, who you've been supporting, all those kind of thought-provoking questions. It's not a matter of, hey, you need to agree with me. It's, hey, I'm going to point out this perspective. I'm going to give you examples, and maybe we could find a common ground to be like, oh shit, I never thought about it that way until now. And thank you for opening my eyes to that, because we go through life with these blinders thinking that we need to fix every single problem, but sometimes you don't need to fix every single problem. Sometimes you need to fix the ones that are important. If you fix the ones that are important, when you look at the bigger picture, everything underneath that bigger picture, the smaller aspects of the issues that you are trying to fix are going to get fixed on their own. Think of it like building blocks. When you're building blocks, you want to make sure that you have a strong foundation. But if you are focusing on the one chipped block for hours and years and months, and all this time you're spending your energy, your money, and your time on this one chipped block, the foundation is never going to be strong enough. The foundation is never going to be built. We tend to focus now on the smallest of issues rather than the biggest of issues. And you wonder why we don't have any strong foundations anymore. And we have weak cracks and we have a lot of violence. Because again, for so many years, the other side was taught to be coddled and have safe spaces, and that words can become violence, and that is their loophole. Now, what does this all have to do with Patreon? Patreon is where Discord Notes Volume 7 and beyond are going to be living. And I have mentioned that before. I just want to make sure that people understand that this is where it's going to be living. So I decided to relaunch Patreon on September 9th, 2025. Since then, I have gotten 239 impressions with 117 seen for the posts that I have been uploading ever since September 9th, 2025. And I would love for you to come on this journey with me. And if you are following the Square Circle podcast for professional wrestling, that's great. If you want other conversations that include culture and a little bit of wrestling, because wrestling does now intersect with culture and politics and commentary and all that, join me over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows. What you get is a very one-tier system, completely VIP for one price of $9.99. Similar to the WWE Network, the network that I used to work on back in the day in 2018 in WWE. So if you want to come support me, go support me over there. Patreon got relaunched because as much as I was trying to say, hey guys, sign up to my fourth wall, there's merchandise there, there's subscriptions there, there's memberships there on my fourth wall, nothing really happened. And then I decided to just make an account to somebody else, to a different content creator that has fourth wall. And I did not like what I experienced as a new account sign up to their membership page. And if I felt like this was way too much of a hassle to do this, then I don't think that that this would be best for my community. Because most of the time I like to test out things that I will stand by and then tell my community and whoever else is listening that, like, hey, this is what I have been doing. I've been testing this out, and I think that this would be good for you guys. But luckily, I decided to test out what happens when you decide to sign up to someone else's fourth wall, and is not as intuitive as it should be. In my opinion, I love fourth wall no matter what. Fourth wall will be the home of all of the merchandise that you can get, and I create all my original merchandise. I don't use AI for creating any merchandise, and I don't steal designs and all that kind of stuff. I make my own designs, one-on-one, original, all original content for the merchandise. So it will stay as a merchandise storefront because I really enjoy the products that Fourth Wall has. And I am used to pushing against the grain because when other people are like, hey, sign up to Patreon, everyone has a Patreon. But I like to go to the beat of my own drum and be like, hey, come be on this journey with me somewhere else. But instead, I decided that since everyone has a Patreon, it's easier. The same way that everyone has a Discord, it's easier. Now, speaking of Discord, I have personally decided to eventually get rid of the two Discords that I have and put everything over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows. The cool thing about Patreon now is that Patreon allows me to create different kinds of private group chats where we can talk about the content that I put up, whether that is wrestling, whether that is culture talking, and I can set these private group chats to free members and or the paid members. For free members over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows, the free subscribers will hang out with me. We get to hang out in the chat. We get to talk about life if you want to talk about life. If you want to talk about wrestling, such as any of the shows that end up coming on like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon because they're overseas or something, and have those chats, I will have those chats. I will be talking in the free one. It's just a hangout lounge. Now, obviously, the other private group chat is for the paid members, and that's the extra stuff where we get to say, hey, this episode dropped, that episode dropped, this is what I'm thinking. I will occasionally do that over to the free chat as well, but paid chat gets a little bit more, obviously. It is up to you, and I would love to see you in chat, and I would definitely love to see you continue this journey with me as we are unpacking just a lot of different things, unpacking wrestling, unpacking culture, unpacking how these two definitely mix, because I did talk about WWE going over to Saudi Arabia for WrestleMania season, and also Saudi Arabia getting Royal Rumble. And then now the news breaking that Saudi Arabia bought EA. I wasn't expecting that. Were you expecting that? Let me know down in the comments below. I will be talking about it a little bit more, maybe in Discord Notes Volume 9, because Discord Notes Volume 8 deals with something that is a little bit more sensitive, if you want to say, because I am going to be reacting to, breaking down, and giving commentary on all of the hateful comments that I got on my Raja Jackson video, where I basically say that Raja Jackson's bail story proves that it's money and not race to buy freedoms. And I have 27 comments on there, and people are just so hateful. So I'm going to be talking about that, unpacking that, giving commentary. That's for Discord Notes Volume 8. And the title of that is going to be My Culture is American, because apparently I can't talk about any kind of culture. I can't talk about Black culture. I can't talk about the Black community because I'm not Black. But when you live in New York City, the most diverse city to have different types of cultures and races and ethnicity and foods and influences. And when you live in the ghetto and when you live in low income areas and you see what happens, you can speak on it because it is part of your experience. It is part of your upbringing. It is part of your makeup and what you just do on a daily basis and what you see and what you observe. But again, the link to that video and everything, and even the Patreon post, will be down in the description below and also in the comment section as well. But yeah, Discord Notes Volume 8 will be called My Culture is American, because that is all of our culture. Every person born here and are here legally are under the American flag of the United States of America. So your culture is America by default. And if you happen to be a specific ethnicity, that is your subculture. But I'll get more into that in Discord Notes Volume 8. If you're interested in that, head over to patreon.com/Marie Shadows for all of the discussion there, because it is going to be unpacked over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows. Now, back to the other thing. I also wanted to be honest in Discord Notes Volume 7 because I think I broke my own rules. and hear me out. Because for years, as a content creator, and this goes across the board as you're brought up and you do content creation or even any other things, they say do not mix politics and religion and do not bring those conversations into any community that you're trying to build. Especially, we're going to take this for the online community and the Discord communities that I'm building. And yeah, one of the rules is not to talk about religion and not to talk about politics, because those are the two things that divide. And I think I have broken those rules, because now I'm talking about culture stuff and politics are within culture. And I mentioned to you guys about my religion background, which is being a Catholic, because when you're half Italian, it's just the normal default thing. And basically understanding now, after so many years, of the phrase walk by faith, not by sight, because of the incident with Charlie Kirk and everyone around the world celebrating a man that basically preached what he believed, preached the Bible, and it reached masses around the world, and they all gathered around in their own cities and towns and took videos of it. And I realized that is the meaning of walk by faith, not by sight. And you're probably wondering, Marie, why are you bringing this up again? Why do you continue to bring this up? And it's because I think that sometimes we might need to talk about these things to find common ground and to make people realize that the past doesn't influence your future. The past is a guide to not go back to what you were doing, what you were thinking, any kind of distractions or anything that was harmful. And when you move forward, you would want like a clean slate. You will want people to understand that you're different. You will want people to understand that you are growing both as a human being and both spiritually and physically and all of that. And I do think that it's time to have conversations that could be uncomfortable to try to find common ground, common foundation. I guess Discord Notes Volume 7 is all about trying to find a really firm foundation in the things that we should talk about, things that we should share, perspectives that we should share, but not in a way where it is preachy, and not in a way of you better listen to me or else, and not in a way of I'm right, you're wrong kind of deal. Because when we start talking to each other and we start giving information and knowledge, that's how you end up becoming smarter and curious about things. And then it just opens your mind to probably just exploring things that can make you happier, that can make you more successful, that can make you more in tune with yourself and into the world and stuff like that. And I know that politics and religion can definitely become very, very polarizing depending on where you grew up, your environment. But I do think that some of the stories that are told online, some of the stories that you hear when people go and interview others, they're always blaming religion for something that happened to them. And it's like one traumatic thing. And then when you hear it, it's like, it's not that bad. You had to go to church every Sunday and you didn't understand it. It's not that bad. You can understand it when you are older, or they instill fear into you. But now that you're older with your own mind, you could go and seek out, like, is it really fear? Do they really fear this? Oh, they do? Well, then I don't believe that kind of deal. Now that you are older to make those decisions on your own and to go seek out and try to understand why certain things happen, I think that's a good thing for you to do to grow as a person, rather than just letting something, quote unquote, trauma stop you. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that define you. You don't have to agree with everything that you hear in religion or in politics. I don't. But that doesn't mean that there isn't some truth to something that you might disagree with, because there's always some type of truth within something you feel that goes against you when it's not even personal. Like, for example, all of the hateful comments that I got on my Roger Jackson update video talking about the bail money and introducing the idea that we should probably rethink the talking point that if you are white and wealthy, that you are the only 1% of people that could buy your freedom. But Raja Jackson and Rampage Jackson are both black and they both have their own money. Rampage Jackson is a former UFC fighter, now a kick streamer, and also a black man who happened to have $50,000 to bail out his son. And I was just using that as like, hey, does that also work for him? You know, he's not white, but he brought his son some freedom, some temporary time outside of jail. And they always say that the white man wants to keep us down, the white man this, the white man that. So somebody did not take kind to how I was explaining it. And I know that all the comments this person put on the video wasn't a personal attack against me, even though he was calling me racist and all that kind of stuff because I was focusing on blacks. But the thing is that he wasn't listening to the nuance and the context of it. So my responses to him was basically like explaining my points again and not even taking offense to him calling me racist and that I'm a moron and that I don't know what I'm talking about, as if like I didn't make other videos on this whole entire situation. So I didn't take offense to that. All I did was like, hey, are you doing this to the other big content creators on YouTube that are talking about Raja Jackson, like MMA Guru and Abe and Preach and all the other content creators? Never said a word afterwards, because it's like, why do you want to target someone who can give a different perspective on this so that way we can stop having the same conversations? When you have the same conversations and there is no type of resolution, there is no type of breakthrough, you're basically doing the definition of insanity. You're having the same conversations over and over and over again through a very small lens, and you want your bubble to stay as is rather than trying to find some type of common ground, a foundation, and something that is like a breakthrough. So that way you know how to fix the situation rather than staying within the situation and just letting it become a deeper and deeper and deeper hole. So if you are going to be staying in your emotion, what are you going to really accomplish and what are you going to do things that are different? Nothing is really going to get accomplished. So I say all of that to give you guys an idea for what Discord Notes is all about. Breaking down stuff, unpacking stuff, definitely jumping from topic to topic because I do not write any kind of scripts for Discord Notes. Discord Notes is basically off the top of my head, and these are the things that we unpack further. And if you want to have these conversations with me, it's over at Patreon, the newly relaunched Patreon since September 9th, 2025. And it just talks about these kind of issues and topics other than professional wrestling. Because again, the same thing is happening in the professional wrestling bubble where people who are either real people, bots, or burner accounts will just say whatever the fuck they want to say and just think that that can fly. But they do it because they know that it can be rage bait. And I know somebody might be like, but Marie, you stand for freedom of speech and they're only exercising their freedom of speech because you say you can say whatever you want. Yes, they can say whatever they want. However, do you see how they phrase the way that they say things online? It's a matter of phrasing, but people do it in a way to rage bait other people so that way they could get the engagement, the farm engagement. And I don't know how many times I had said it in the past that like, do not entertain these people. Even if you were to take a screenshot, it's still somewhat giving them a signal boost because most of them will start to vanity search their name. But again, if people are going to continue to do the same thing over and over and over to feed the social media machine, I really don't want no part of it because it's not going to have a breakthrough. We're not going to find a common ground. We're not going to find the fundamentals of building a strong base to understand that propaganda is always going to be propaganda, no matter if that's in politics, wrestling, sports, music, entertainment, any other space. It does not matter because we are all addicted to the social media machine no matter what. And of course, if any of the podcasts that you hear from me, your fave Marie Shadows, If you feel like it makes you uncomfortable or anything like that, you don't have to listen. The podcast episode will still remain on the channels such as youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast, on Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, on and Substack and Patreon. The podcast episode will still remain up. And if you feel up for it, you could always revisit that podcast episode that made you uncomfortable. The door isn't going to close on anybody that want to not listen to the podcast episode. It will get circulated into the algorithm no matter what. But the door will always be ajar just in case if you want to come back and visit and hear what I have to say. Because I really do want to make one thing clear is that I do not force people to try to agree with my opinion wholeheartedly when it comes to wrestling and talking about wrestling issues and now talking about culture issues and anything that I want to add my 2 cents to. I do not try to tell you you need to agree with me. No, you could disagree with me. You could have a civil discussion with me about why you don't agree with things. And we could try to find some type of common ground, some type of fundamental, some type of foundation where we can at least agree with something and disagree with everything else. And maybe sometime later we could come back and revisit those things that we disagree upon to different ideas, different perspectives, different experiences. I ask questions and challenge talking points because I think that over the past 20 years, most of the world has been living in a delusion, and now we're starting to see what happens when we allow that delusion to go way too far out and it can't really be controlled. And if it is trying to be controlled, there are people that are always going to be against it because they think that it's all about them and that the world should cater to them, and that makes everything selfish. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the phrase of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, aka good Star Trek. And if you don't want to hear anything that's challenging to your beliefs or worldview or delusions, again, you could always revisit the podcasts that challenge stuff like that. That's the reason why I went in the direction of the Roger Jackson update story on the bail stuff. And the reason why I continue to speak out on issues within the wrestling community and issues within New Japan and AEW and anything that comes across my feed that might need some attention, maybe some 2 cents, a different perspective on what you might be thinking or seeing or hearing, because we all get lost in the rabbit hole. Whenever we doom scroll, whenever we look at social media, we get lost in that rabbit hole and we think that sometimes that's happening, and we think that there might be no way of trying to find a solution, but there is. And we could find solutions through having conversations about things. That's exactly what Discord Notes is about. I am going to say this as a general statement that I think it's time to start talking about things so that way we can exchange ideas and learn from each other and not be afraid to talk about things, because people get emotional and people think that it's scary and uncomfortable to be challenging worldviews, and it should be uncomfortable and it should be challenging because we grow up a certain way, we think a certain way, and the moment that someone tries to give us a different perspective, it might feel like they're trying to break everything down that you try to build up within yourself. But you got to remember that we should be embracing the imperfect rather than trying to be the perfect person, rather than trying to hold fast, so to speak, or hold steady of old ways of thinking, and then realizing that there could always be a new way of thinking. There could always be a new way of solving a situation. There could always be a new way of embracing things while still trying to have conviction into the things that matter the most to you, aka values and principles and manners and all of that kind of stuff. We should, as human beings, be evolving for the better rather than regressing, rather than trying to just be stubborn for the sake of being stubborn. And again, Discord Notes explores these topics and things that I want to talk about, and it's sort of a little bit of a different outlet than just talking about wrestling 24/7 when I'm seeing that wrestling is not really changing as much as it should be changing. WWE right now is growing to immeasurable heights. TKO is charging arms and legs and really high prices for tickets, and they have Saudi Arabia with them. And I did talk about it earlier, and it's all about money right now. It really is all about money, which is not a bad thing because we need money to survive and keep going and doing what we normally do. But at the same time, you got to remember who exactly brought you to the dance in order to make you guys that big, that huge, that famous. It is us, the fans, the ones who work hard, the ones who pay taxes, the ones who decide to do whatever they want to do as their passion and as their career. But ultimately, we are the ones that tune in 24/7, talk about wrestling 24/7, and basically try to protect wrestling 24/7. I will say here again that we don't need any activists in professional wrestling. If you are a 24/7 activist and that is your only personality trait and you don't have anything else, please do not continue to watch wrestling. It might sound wrong, it might be a little gatekeeping, but the activists in professional wrestling have basically almost tried to destroy wrestling to a degree, and they don't make wrestling fun. They want to control it, they want to be selfish about it, and they want to let you know that you got to believe in our cause. Okay, well then why aren't you getting off of your couch, getting some type of plane ticket if you can't afford it, to actually be active in your activism of whatever it is? Companies should not be the activism for you, if that makes sense. Companies should not try to cater to people that have an agenda, because at the end of the day, it is an entertainment source for us to lose just 2 hours of whatever the world wants to feed us and whatever the world wants to lecture us. Just 2 hours of fun and entertainment and just understanding that we are suspending our disbelief to have this fun to watch professional wrestling. But yes, activists can leave the professional wrestling community. AEW still does AEW things. New Japan Pro Wrestling does New Japan Pro Wrestling things. Nothing has really improved or evolved to a better point. I saw the match card for the next upcoming show that's going to be over in the UK called Royal Quest, and I'm looking at the match card and I'm like, this is so bare bones that how is this any hype? How do people want to be like, yeah, let's go New Japan? And it's like, wow, this is so bare bones. This doesn't make any sense to have these kind of matches, to have these matchups, to have the young guys go after these title belts, and they are constantly falling at the hands of the veterans that have been there. And New Japan Pro Wrestling needs to switch their way of thinking and to switch their tradition, because it's not going to last. It would have lasted if AEW didn't come in and buy up all the talent in a very quick way that left New Japan Pro Wrestling freaking suffocating and wanting air. Now New Japan Pro Wrestling needs to change their way of thinking and get people out of positions that no longer serve the company. I still need to do a podcast episode on New Japan Pro Wrestling. I still do. If you guys are following this long, put some stuff down in the comments that I could talk about in professional wrestling so I can make this New Japan podcast episode. I have some stuff that I decided to screenshot off of Reddit that I'll probably look at and break down as well. But yeah, leave some stuff down in the comments below. As that being said, I have been talking for a good half hour, and I just want you guys to know that for the past 6 years, I've been doing professional wrestling content. I love professional wrestling. That is my passion. I get so passionate about it, but I do not creatively want to burn out from constantly talking about wrestling, constantly talking about the same issues over and over again. There are countless other wrestling content creators that are always like WWE bad, AEW good, and then vice versa, where they're like AEW bad, and WWE good. And that brings them all the joy because they're playing to the algorithm, they're playing to the machine, they're playing to everything. How many times can I talk about AEW being bad? How many times can I just praise WWE and go along with whatever they're going to do because they are a big monster company? My opinion here is not really going to reach to their ears. However, I would like to buy a whiteboard. There is a whiteboard in my throne wish list if anybody wants to get me stuff off of my wish list. I would like to buy a whiteboard so we could just do some random what ifs, or what could have been better, or how could we have handled the John Cena retirement tour, because I have thoughts on that, which includes a theory that we needed The Rock for this. But right now, wrestling fans are spoiled with the amount of wrestling that is on. And we are just spoiled in general that I think that we're so bored that we make up things and make up delusions and just make things harder for ourselves rather than enjoying each other's company, enjoying when we speak together, enjoying when we come together and just be like, hey, how's it going? What's up? What you been up to? You know, normal stuff where people are like, hey, I respect you because you're a person, and let's just talk about things. Let's just talk about life. You know, what did you do last week? What did you do this week? What did you do yesterday? What did you create? What did you have for dinner or something? Like normal conversations. That's how we build friendships, right? I remember that. Man, it seems like so long ago. Now, I know that Discord Notes Volume 7 is all over the place because I've had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it and what I wanted to do and keep you guys updated. And yes, this whole thing will be for free for you to listen to. All the other Discord notes will have to be behind a paywall. Listen, as many times as I say it, I need to start doing it. And I just need people to believe in me and believe in the value and maybe some knowledge, maybe some perspectives that I give. And even if you are against them, it's totally okay. Just come with a civil discourse and we'll see if we could try to find some type of common ground where we can agree on something. And then maybe I could think about and reflect on the things that are given to me, if they make sense. They have to be logical. They can't just be from a place of emotion, such as the hateful comments on my one video. And just very quickly, I wanted to talk about my goals. The goal for Discord Notes Volume 7 is just an outlet for me to talk about things, give my 2 cents, give commentary, and talk about things that probably should be challenged. Because if we're not challenging anything, how are we growing as a person on a mental, physical, and also spiritual level? Even if you don't like religion, you don't have to have a religion base or have a denomination to notice things spiritually or feel things spiritually. The whole entire world has an energy that we all connect to and that we all relate to. We are all energy. We are. We spend a lot of energy doing content creation. We spend a lot of energy being with our family, being with our friends, having arguments, having disagreements, having lovey-dovey stuff. Everything is energy filled. Okay? So if you're not trying to better yourself, better your mind, which is mental, and better yourself physically by walking everywhere or going to the gym or doing something very simple, taking your first steps on a healthier journey. And if you're not doing anything spiritually, you're going to be in the same bubble that you've been in for years. And it's time to break out of that. So challenging things is a good thing to make you better than what you were yesterday. And that was one of my main mantras when I started the Square Circle podcast, that I wanted to make wrestling better than it was yesterday. Something like that. I haven't used that mantra in forever. So I know I'm talking about goals, but the main thing is that Discord Notes Volume 7 remains as a way for me to talk about things that may not be appropriate for the Square Circle podcast community, because I know you guys are just wanting me to talk about wrestling, but sometimes these conversations intersect. So as of right now, Discord Notes Volume 7 is basically experimental and it's very fun. It's very relaxing and maybe like therapeutic. The next thing that I wanted to mention is that I built up and I created Crossroads. And it's only going to be crossroad interviews. It's not going to be crossroad interviews and editorials. Editorials were more about talking about a specific topic that wasn't necessarily culture wise. But if I wanted to talk about music, it would be an editorial. If I wanted to talk about the idea and the concept that people come into your life for a season, that would be an editorial type of topic. But then I was like, nah, let's not do that. So any topic like that I want to talk about will be a Discord notes, and the title will be specific to what that is. And hopefully I don't get off topic. Just know that this is all new territory for me, and I am still trying to find my voice in this specific area. But obviously in wrestling, I already know what I'm talking about, but I am still trying to find my voice. And that's again, me being honest and wanting you to be on this journey with me. And if you continue to be on this journey with me, thank you. If you are brand new to the journey, thank you. Welcome aboard. Welcome everybody. So yeah, Discord notes will be living on patreon.com/Marie Shadows. And if it's something that resonates with you, or you're just curious on what I think about certain topics, by all means, join the conversation for free before trying to make a decision to go paid. Okay, that's everything that I wanted to say in Discord Notes Volume 7. Just know that the next Discord Notes Volume 8 is all about My Culture is American, and Part 9 will probably be something on some other topics. If you want to contribute to what topics I should talk about or give my 2 cents on, that is a perk for paid members and for free members and those that follow my Instagram, Your Fave Marie Shadows, URFAV Marie Shadows. I will be putting something out if I need to collect topics on my IG stories. So make sure to follow the Instagram as well. So all the socials will be down in the description below and also in the comment section. So if you want to, patreon.com/Marie Shadows is the party to be at. And we are always here. We're always in progress, and we're always talking about stuff and having conversations. And that's all I really want, is to have conversations and to try to make us a little bit better, a little bit more friendlier, a little bit more common sense, common ground, strong foundations. That's what I really want. Strong foundations, strong convictions. We can agree to disagree if you want to, but for the most part, we got to get back to what is common sense, and also just common respect, logic as well. So yes, patreon.com/Marie Shadows, Your Fave Marie Shadows on Instagram. And yeah, that's where all the chats are going to be happening. Instagram and also Patreon. I still have my youtube.com/Square Circle podcast for all wrestling needs. marieshadows.substack.com for all wrestling content and wrestling podcasts. And Spotify has the Square Circle podcast on there as well. Make sure to follow the channel. Thank you so much for now 85 followers. Somebody decided to unfollow the Square Circle podcast, and that's totally okay. I hope they come back eventually, and if not, it's okay as well. And then also Discord Notes is an exclusive Patreon podcast that talks about topics and talks about perspectives and all of that. You have an idea from this whole entire podcast episode for Volume 7 and what to expect for Volume 8. So this is a Patreon exclusive podcast episode. And being on Patreon means that we can do this independently, without an algorithm, without chasing anything, and definitely without YouTube taking 50% of the cuts when it comes to a super chat donation, and definitely the 70-30 when you get into the partner program. So Patreon makes a lot of sense when it comes to independent content creators. And if you feel that's something that you can support, or maybe just be a cheerleader of, you guys can share this episode, share it with your friends, and support the Patreon. Check it out. Patreon.com/Marie Shadows. Let's avoid all of the algorithm And together, let's build this foundation of being stronger together and just talking about ideas, sharing ideas. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I've talked enough. So thank you for listening to Discord Notes Volume 7. Head over to the Patreon, support everything. And I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.